Welcome back to Light the Fuse, the only Mission Impossible podcast that I feel like brings you closer to your loved ones.
Yeah.
You put this podcast on, you get around the fire, snuggle up, and I don't know. How are you feeling about your father? We haven't had a sort of a dad check-in recently.
Yeah, I gotta check in. I talked to my dad last week.
He's alive.
He's alive. Things are good.
Is he proud of you?
We gotta try to get him on the show.
I know, that's gonna be like, to me, that is like, as much as it is to get Tom Cruise, your dad is like the number 2 level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked me the question, is he proud of me? I mean, that's the question of my lifetime. I don't know.
Is he gonna watch your movie? Is the movie gonna be on TV?
It's gonna be on. It's gonna be on Hulu on December 6th. The trailer. I think we had said the trailer was out before in an earlier episode, but it wasn't.
No.
But now, by the time this episode is out, the trailer will be out for sure.
Okay.
It actually comes out tomorrow.
Oh, great.
With our recording of this, but it'll be out by the time this episode comes out. But they don't have Hulu, my parents, so I'm gonna have to try to walk them through that.
Good luck.
If they have a desire to watch it, we'll see. I'll let you know what he says.
Yeah.
And
I think you're going to have to get a Blu-ray and send it to them for them to actually watch it.
Well, this is a new age. We don't have Blu-rays.
I know. You got to make it.
I didn't get a Blu-ray of Night Owls either. It's digital only release.
Ugh.
So it is what it is. Speaking of which, actually, Thomas Jeffroy tweeted at me to let me know that Night Owls is on Now TV in the UK.
Oh.
So it's in another avenue.
For free?
I don't...
You seen any?
He said, I asked him what it was. I don't know what Now TV is. He says it's a streaming service.
You seen any?
But I think it's related to Sky Movies, which I know that it was on Sky Movies, like Movie a Day, or they have some program like that. Night Owls is on that as well. So I don't know. Anyway,
international reach?
I assume it means something to people in the UK. If you have Now TV, then you can watch Night Owls.
Maybe we have to go to England for people to recognize you.
Yeah.
From your film. You seen any of that money?
From Night Owls?
Yeah.
Yeah, not much. It's a small movie. It's an independent movie.
Yeah, but it's showing all over the place.
Yes. No, it's good. It's getting out there more. I think because Rosa Salazar, who stars in it, is getting more and more traction. She was the lead of Battle Angel.
Which we love.
And she's the star of Undone, which is a show that's on Amazon right now, which is done in the style of Waking Life and Scanner Darkly, that kind of rotoscope animated thing where they paint the digital frames or whatever. And then she's got announced for another Netflix show.
Cherry Flavor or something.
She's got announced for a Netflix show. So she's taken off. I mean, she's amazing. Rosa is really an incredible actress.
Would have been nice if she had taken you with her. I still think
only so much she can do.
Well, I think maybe you could direct this new show. I don't know. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But we're back again with Michael Kamper, part 2.
I'm excited.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in this one.
Yeah. So what do we get into this? Do you want to tease it at all?
No, we talk about more mission stuff. We talk about other things in his career, I think. I don't really remember specifics, but I've got something to talk about afterwards that I'll bring up.
Okay. Well, I think this is very illuminating. Again, it's a different aspect of the production that no one's really talked about. I feel like we're kind of illuminating that.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have more sound people. We were close to getting somebody who did the sound for Rogue Nation and I think Fallout as well, and we had to reschedule with him. We're gonna hopefully get him next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course we always want to get anyone from all aspects of the production and post production. So we're excited.
If you were
to have
part
this.
of the productions too, reach out to us.
Yeah, let us know.
We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we'll be back at the end of this episode and wrap things up then.
I wanted to ask about Nightcrawler. You worked on that, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah, that was that was just a really bizarre film. What I ended up doing because I'd left working on films to work on video games. And that was something that there was a period where the studio I was working for closed. And so I was sort of freelance for a while, and I contacted, some of the people that I knew back down in LA and say, hey, is there any film projects that I can work on, that you can send me, that because I'm living up in Northern California. So it's like one of them was this film Nightcrawler, and when the sound supervisor described it to me, it just sounded like the most bizarre film, and certainly lived up to lived up to that when I finally saw it. But mostly what I did on that was just Foley editing, just because that was a simple thing for me, and plus it was one of those films where there wasn't a ton of sound design really needed. It was mostly just about the heightening the reality of sort of what Lou is going through in as he tries to become this this Nightcrawler character. But so I cut what happened was like the Foley team records all the footsteps and all the cloth movements and all the props, like sort of picking up and putting down things and handling different kinds of things and just sweetening different moments throughout the film. And they just sent me the Pro Tools sessions, and I went through and I just cut it all up and made sure everything was in sync, and did a little sound design here and there. But mostly it was just doing a lot of the Foley editing.
So maybe like you can maybe you can clarify for me a little bit,
Sure.
And for other people, I'm sure there's a difference, because it sounds like that was a very different job in a way from what you did on Mission Impossible 3. There are two different
Yes.
categories for sound in the Oscars.
Yes.
One is, I believe, sound effects, and the other one is sound effects editing. Is that right? Am I crazy?
Correct.
Something like that?
Yes. I mean, essentially, sound effects editing is, the recipient of that is the sound supervisor. And basically that is it is for the team that did the sound design, did the sound editing, put everything together, created the sounds themselves. And then brought them to the mix stage. And the other one is for the mixers. So including the on-set mixer. He's a part of that. He's included in that team as well.
Okay.
And that's just the team that, again, just, takes the music and takes the VO and takes the sound effects and just, makes the final product in the final polished mix that everyone hears. And that's that whole process of the pre-dubbing and the final mix with the editors and the directors and stuff like that. And there are two very different disciplines.
And you've kind of bounced around in different roles, it seems like, right? Is that
Mostly,
fair to say, or no?
Not well, I mean, but mostly just on the sound effects editing side. Like I was never in front of the mixing board pushing faders around and stuff like that. I mean, that's just a different skill level. That's a different skill set
Right.
than sort of what we do, and it's a different sort of, they're looking at it differently. It's like it's kind of a way to think about it is, I'm focused primarily on doing, covering all the sound effects, doing all the sound design on a film. There's another set of people who is in charge of just doing all the VO, all the ADR, making sure everything is clean and precise in that realm. And then there's all obviously all the music and all that. And everyone sort of is in sort of a heightened state, concerned about their category of the audio. And then the mixer's job is just to sit there and decide, okay, what needs to be where, what needs to be focused. Should the music be, is it better for in this moment of the film for the music to be highlighted, or is this more of a sound effects scene, or is this like, should we just be, I mean, obviously whenever VO is happening, you need to be listening to the VO, so that needs to be clear and crisp, and everything needs to sort of be ducking around that. But it's sort of them working with the picture editor, working with the director, the producers, deciding, okay, what should be highlighted, what should be featured as we're in each moment of the film. And that's the mixer's job to make sure that happens.
That's cool.
Didn't you just go through this on your movie, Charles?
Yeah. It's good to hear it all, how it all works and how it all comes together. I mean, yeah, and I know it all funnels into the, what do they call, the re-recording mixer? Is the mixer in
Yeah,
post?
I mean, that's their traditional title, yes, the re-recording mixer.
You also worked on Blade 2 with
I did.
Guillermo
I worked
del
on
Toro
both
directed that
Blades,
one.
actually.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
I worked on Blade 1 and Blade 2. So, yeah, that was another film that was interesting. That was my first big introduction to working with the Sound Deluxe team. because I had been with a smaller studio that sort of got gobbled up. Because there was at that point there was some larger media conglomerates going around, sort of gobbling up sound studios, and we got gobbled up along with Sound Deluxe. So suddenly we were all together as one big team, and so that was really my first big film with the Sound Deluxe team, and yeah, that was certainly a lot of fun to work on. I did. Sort of again, a lot of the more ambient sound effects, a lot of the smaller things. I did like the whole scene in the beginning, like actually the whole opening of the film where you got you get this tram that goes by in the beginning, and then the guy going to the blood bank and stuff like that. That I did a lot of the sound effects, just the small things in those moments. But there were that was another food group movie where you had somebody just doing all the vampire sound effects and somebody just doing all the guns and making sure that those are consistent throughout the film and they all sound badass throughout the film. So I was doing a lot of the more minor sounds in that film.
No sound is minor. There are only minor.
Well, that is true. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It really is true, because I think like an audience can actually get by with a movie that doesn't quite look, if the image is not up to like standards, like something like Blair Witch or whatever. You can get by. The audience can get over it, but they can't get over bad sound. You just cannot.
Yeah, it's one of those things that will really sort of stick out to an audience, but they won't really know why. They'll not be into it. They won't be pulled into the story at all because they'll be distracted by the fact that just the sound isn't quite working. It's not at a certain quality level, or it's not in sync. And not like sync as in matching movements, but just they're not feeling emotionally attached to the film, and they're not really sure why. It's because the audio just isn't doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
We've seen some movies, some major movies that have sound issues, and it's just like, how did no one figure this out along the way?
Not every, and I don't always blame the sound crews, because the sound crews are always usually very good, but it's the priorities of the directors or producers or whoever's deciding, making final decisions on the mix stage and stuff like that. I've certainly been on a few films where I felt like, certainly even just hearing the early mixes of the film, I was feeling really good about it, but then I'd get to the final mix of something or watch it in the theater later, and I would be so disappointed in how it turned out because of certain choices with like either music choices or just other sort of weird mix things that I knew had to be just like some director or producer going, it's like, no, can we make it more this or something like that? It's like, okay. It's like, at the end of the day, they're the ones, it's their film. We're just servicing what they want. And if they're not as attuned to what audio can do or what audio should be, throughout a film, then, again, it's one of those things, you feel a disconnect. You feel like something's not quite working. You're not quite sure why. It's because the audio is just not in sync with what the film needs at that moment.
But were you happy overall with the way the Mission Impossible 3 turned out in terms of your contributions and everything else? Okay.
I was pretty happy mostly because a lot of what I did sort of just survived through it. Because a lot of what I developed in my edit room, it wasn't altered that much in the final mix. I was very pleased. It was like this is my work. This is a good representation of what I added to the film. And so yeah. And I mean, looking, because I just watched it again last night, and you're always going to see the things you could have done differently or wish you'd done differently, or it's like, oh, I could have made that better if I spent a little bit more time on it, or just even looking at it all these years later now, it's like I probably would have made different choices and decided like, okay, I could have done that better with the experience I have now, but it's like for what I was doing at the time, I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the sound work on that film, and not just my contributions, but what everyone brought to the table.
Did you work on anything that didn't make it into the final movie? Were there any scenes or moments that you had worked on that didn't quite get in there?
I'm sure there were little things here and there. I'm trying to remember. I mean, like so most of the bridge stuff that I did, because the big sequences I did is like I said, the warehouse siege toward the beginning, the bridge. I also did the airplane when they're hanging Davian out the airplane when Tom's trying to get him to talk. But most of that's in there. Most of the work that I did, there's probably little bits here and there that got ducked out because of dialogue or music. But for the most part, I think most of the work I did is there. So
That's exciting.
yeah.
Are there any like weird, unexpected sounds that you pulled to use for that sequence or any other sequence? Because like I think like they do like random stuff like.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of an example, but there are a lot of movies over the years, the classic examples of like, random, like I think like Jurassic Park uses weird, like,
Yes.
I think Aliens used sped up lions or something for the alien sounds or something like that. And
there's definitely like some I forget. I was studying that the other day. Actually, it's like pig squeals or something. Pig squeals are a big thing for monsters, obviously, because they're so disturbing sounding to begin with. But yeah, just the the very beginning of the bridge sequence when the first car blows up and gets flipped over, there is this sort of shout that you hear. It sounds like a guy going "rah," But what that was just something random I pulled. That was actually from, I want to say. I'm blanking on the film now, but it's a movie with a bunch of, sort of gorillas in it. And this was a gorilla sound that somebody had made out of just a set of like, a sound designer, making gorilla sounds into a microphone. And that was like pulled from that. And I think I meant to replace it later with something better, but it kind of just stuck in there as this sort of interesting little sound that happens right before the explosion, the car smashing into the ground, and so it's still in there, and it stuck out to me. So I always smile when I hear that, because it's this sort of this odd sound that it's like the only thing happening in that very second of the film, and so it's like it sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I don't know if anyone else really pays attention to it. But
now I'm going to listen for this gorilla sound.
Yeah.
How many gorilla movies are there? I'm trying to think of what this could have been from. Congo or something?
It might have been Congo, actually. Yeah, it might have been Congo or like Mighty Joe Young, like if you remember that film. Because those were, I know because Sound Deluxe I know did work on Congo, so it might have been from that.
And the very first explosion on the bridge, so we should listen for a gorilla the next time we watch the movie.
Well, yeah, just the car blows up, it flips up in the air, and right before it smashes into the ground, there's this sound.
That's awesome.
But I really love all this because, again, like I said, I just watched it again, and all the sounds that I used through that whole sequence of the car crashes happening right before the helicopter shows up. I spent so much time on that sequence, just like trying to put some detail in every shot, just because I didn't want just sort of generic, explosions and stuff happening. I always approach it as putting as much detail into everything as possible. And there's still things to this day that I love little bits of sound from that I love to use, just because I just love the detail of them, and I just always remember them from that sequence.
That's cool.
This is becoming a lot like Blowout. I'm realizing now that you're going to.
Do you ever feel like John Travolta in Blowout? Is that your life?
I do, honestly. No, it's funny because, I mean, that's like one of the only films to feature a sound designer as the main character. And I remember seeing that a number of years ago and being really blown away by it, because it was a very, obviously it's a very good film, but but I never used like sort of what he's doing back then with the old mag, running it and syncing it and stuff like that. I did that in college, but I never, luckily by the time I got to LA and working on films, it was all digital. It was all in Pro Tools and stuff like that. So I never had to actually physically be cutting tape to do my job, which is nice.
And you're not haunted by the screams of anybody that you recorded?
No, there was no actual death screams used in any of the films I've done.
That's good.
Though I do admit to using the Wilhelm scream once or twice. So.
Oh, really? When did you use that?
Though I don't think I used it anywhere in this film. I did use it because, I mean, the thing about the Wilhelm scream at this point is it's such a cliche, and like every sound editor is just like, oh God, really? Do we have to use that? But I used it subtly because I worked on The Last Samurai, and when the cannons are blowing up the samurai in the big final battle at the end, I snuck it in there at one point. It's really subtle. I think no one is going to hear it if I don't point out where it is. And so that's like the one big place I remember using it. The thing about the Wilhelm scream too is like there's like 6 screams on that recording, and that's the one that gets used all the time. Isn't even the best one. There's like another one that I prefer more, but it's just become this thing that everyone's aware of now, and just has to get put into everything by certain people. But
right.
I'm loath to use it anymore.
Are there any in any of the Mission Impossible movies, Charles?
I don't know. I'd have to listen out for it now.
There might be 1 and 2, I feel like.
I have a feeling you're right. I have a feeling if there's anywhere, it's probably in 2 somewhere.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen all of the movies, so we can't get you to rank all of the Mission Impossible movies, but maybe you can rank the ones that you've seven. You haven't seen Ghost Protocol as the one that
I haven't seen it all the way through.
Okay.
But I've seen the others, and let's see. Well, even I have to
top
admit
3, that's good.
Yeah. even I have to admit that, the one I worked on is it's okay. It's, in terms of, it was interesting. I was listening to your talk with the last one that just came out where you're talking to the production designer on 3.
With Scott, yeah.
Yeah, and he brought up the great point of just how many close-ups, how much of the film is close-ups because of just the nature of JJ being a TV director at that point. And then I watched it again yesterday. I was like, wow, yeah, you know what? He's right. There are so much of the film is in close-up. Which is great because, Tom does an amazing job in this film. I thought, just at the time, I even remember thinking like the performance he gave in 3 just was so much better than 1 and 2. In terms of just the amount of just, especially when he's just being put through the ringer, especially at the end of the film when he thinks his wife is killed, and and he's got the thing in his head, and he's fighting Davian, sort of stumbling around. I mean, I think just the breadth of emotion that he portrays in 3, I think, is amazing. And really just shows off his talents as a director, and all those close-ups help with that for sure. But I would say that Fallout, I really enjoyed Fallout. I thought Fallout was great, and I still, the first one, even though I'm kind of in that it's more confusing that it needs to be camp of people, I still really, really enjoy it. And then let's say 3. So if I do my top 3, I'll say Fallout, the first one, and then Mission Impossible 3.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna have to get back to us after you watch Ghost Protocol all the way through and see if that cracks the top 3.
I've seen the climbing the building sequence. That's
Yes.
about it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Well, is that about it, Charles? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless you want to tell us your favorite Tom Cruise haircut, because we usually ask people that too.
I think I of the ones I've seen, 3 is probably the best, simply because it's the most natural. The other ones seem like, even Fallout, it seems a little too done up, a little too coiffed. The first one is very like militaristic, short. The second one is just like all over the place. And it just is just a little too goofy, but it's just there to look cool in those John Woo slow motion shots. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say 3 just because it just seems natural, just like it, which goes well with his performance, and it's not as sort of heightened as the others are.
We think 3 is a really underrated haircut. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just he's just a guy.
We really appreciate your analysis here. This is good.
Well, it's the one. 3 is the one where it's most about he's just a guy doing a job. the rest of them, he's a little bit more super spy-ish. And this one is like, you can really just see him he's a guy doing work.
So you're like, the haircut really reflects the movie's themes.
And the haircut reflects that. It's just, you see him, he's getting married to a normal person, and he's like got a normal house with a dog.
Yeah.
And he's hanging out with people at the beginning of his film at an engagement party. It's just like, he's just a normal guy who's just happens to do this thing that he has to go and run to Berlin to go shoot a bunch of guys and rescue somebody on a random night,
Right.
And the rest of it is all is a lot more just heightened spy stuff. And it's certainly gotten more and more that way, in the McQuarrie films, but, which is fine. It's like, it's awesome that way. But just in terms of, the just a normal guy doing his job, it's more the third one for sure.
I love this theory. This is really great. This whole like idea of that his haircut is reflects the content of each movie.
Well, Michael, do you have anything you want to plug or tell people about, or things that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Not really. Just I'm a fan of the franchise. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. The next two. See what can we drop Tom Cruise from now? Since we've got him off of planes and buildings and stuff like that. So like, is he going up in space? I mean, who knows? So yeah, and I'm just a fan of just the direction that they're going, that McQuarrie is taking it, and I'm such a big fan of McQuarrie himself, and just all the honesty that he gives in the talks that he's, the podcasts he's been on and stuff like that. Just, I've really enjoyed listening to him and just sort of listening to his process, and so it's just as a fan of people making films, it's been just a great ride to be on for sure.
But just to clarify, his conversation on our podcast, somewhat more illuminating than other podcasts. I'm just going to go out and say that.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course. Okay, great.
Yours is a gold standard, of course.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a huge thrill, and I love that we're kind of showcasing roles or parts of the production that people might not know about, and I think that this is going to really illuminate a part of these movies for people in a really fun way.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm happy to be on, and I'm flattered that you have me on. I've been enjoying listening and catching up and listening to all the work you guys have done so far in your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, that's it. We know everything there is to know about the sound of MI3. Well, not really.
Not everything.
No, not everything.
It's interesting because he was just a part of it. He was assigned sections of it.
Yeah.
So it's cool. There's so many people that are involved in every movie, and even him. It was interesting to hear him talk about how there are things he would have done differently when he goes back. Like, I always think of that about my work from years ago. You hear other directors talk about that when they go talk about work, but it even goes down to sound editors. When they watch a movie they did 10 years ago, they hear it and they go, God, I would have done that differently now. There's just so much, the level of the work that goes into it, top to bottom, how many different people put so much into these movies. That's why I think I'm hesitant to just go and just shit on movies sometimes. It's like, how much time and effort someone put into that? Yeah. Like, even if it's not for you, it's for somebody out there. Yeah.
But it's a wonderful peek behind the curtain and a look at a style of filmmaking, or I guess a strata of filmmaking that's rarely paid attention to, but we love. I mean, we talk about sound all the time. So, it was really fascinating to get to talk to him.
Yeah, and I had mentioned because he brought up the gorilla sound that they used on the bridge sequence.
Oh yeah,
which is so crazy. And I had mentioned, I tried to remember what it was, and I looked it up since then. In Jurassic Park, the T-Rex sound, they combined a tiger with a gator and a slowed down baby elephant, and that's how they created the T-Rex roar.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Who did that?
Was that right? Was that Rydstrom? I don't know. Look up Jurassic Park. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But the other one that I looked up too was Return of the Jedi. The Rancor, the big monster, in Return of the Jedi on Tatooine. The Rancor, Ben Burt slowed down a Chihuahua to make the rank.
Really?
Episode. Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
I was just looking up sounds and I came across that one. I was like, oh my God, I had never heard that before. That's great.
You know, I forgot to bring this up, but I was interviewing some people from ILM X Labs, which is the VR unit. They, of course, knew our good friend Todd Vaziri.
Oh, right.
And they actually shared a connection to Mission Impossible in this new VR game called Vader Immortal Chapter 3. This is a game that you can play on Oculus. And there's a scene where you're on kind of a moving skiff and you're firing at stormtroopers. And they actually used the same process in this sequence in the game as they did on the first Mission Impossible, where they moved the sides of the cave walls around your vehicle. So you're actually stationary. You're not going forward in the game. The sides are going past you, which I guess is one of the tricks they used in the tunnel sequence in Mission Impossible.
Oh.
So they've applied that technology to a VR experience, which is pretty cool and pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I thought I would bring that up.
Wow.
Yeah. It was Gary Rydstrom.
It was Gary Rydstrom who did Jurassic Park.
Who is coming on the show.
Hopefully.
Spoiler alert.
Knock on wood. Spoiler alert. Yes. We are working on getting Gary Rydstrom on the show, who we love, who did both the first movie and Ghost Protocol.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's an amazing talent.
A legend, and hopefully that works out and we didn't just jinx it.
I talked to him once.
We've had a couple other people we've talked about getting on the show that have had to reschedule that we will...
We're still pursuing.
We're still fighting to get them on, and it'll happen.
Yeah, I talked to him a few years ago when he did the movie Strange Magic, which is now on Disney Plus, which I recommend watching just as a curiosity. It's a pretty amazing looking visual movie and sounds amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What else is there?
We need to remind people to...
Yes, to like and subscribe.
Yes,
and to
rate, review.
We got new shirts.
Oh,
Get the
amazing.
new shirts from our TeePublic store. Check them out, and if you don't want a shirt, you can get a magnet or a pin or a sticker or a
whatever you want.
iPhone case, whatever. Get Light the Fuse
baby
stuff.
onesie.
Yes, I got a baby onesie.
Not for yourself.
Not for myself.
For your
no.
child.
No, but yeah, do that, and if you're so inclined, please sign up for our Patreon as well.
Yeah.
You can get bonus content. We've got commentaries for the first 5 Mission Impossible movies, and I think by now we will have the Fallout commentary out as well.
Woo.
And then we're going to continue to do other bonus episodes and other commentaries and things, and depending on what people want. So let us know what you want, and we will deliver that to you.
Yes.
If you are signed up for our Patreon for the bonus content.
Yes.
And speaking of which, this episode's brought to you by Jeremy Dillon, and was mixed by Luke Burson.
Are we loving Jeremy's pink beard?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. His sense of style is amazing.
I know, I can't pull it off, but he does,
no,
and it's
you can't.
great.
I can tell you that.
Thanks. There were a couple other quick things I wanted to check in on. There was one of our listeners, I'm going to probably mispronounce your last name, Michael Parente. He messaged us a while ago, and I missed this message on Instagram. He took a helicopter tour of Sydney and took pictures of the different sites that are in Mission Impossible 2.
Oh my god!
So he has these amazing overhead shots of,
Can we share this?
Of the island. I'll ask him.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be cool with us doing it. Of the island at the end,
okay.
and like other spots of like you look at it and it's clear as day. You're like, oh my god, yeah, that's the spot from MI2.
Did he tell the guy?
I know that's what I'm going to ask him. Like, were you doing the helicopter tour? And you were like, hey, can we get to this random island where MI2 took place?
And the pilot's like, I don't know, mate. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. But what if the helicopter pilot was Billy Baird?
Do you think Billy Baird does tours? Does helicopter
yeah.
tours? I hope. I wanted to say we didn't talk about when I think last week we talked about Haley Atwell training.
Yeah.
Not only is she learning to race, but she's also learning to drift. Like I
know Tokyo Drift.
Yes. Yeah. So that's exciting.
That must be so fun. Like, yeah, what a thrill! Like, okay, you're in a Mission Impossible movie, great. That's obviously amazing, but you get to do like the coolest stuff. Yeah, yeah, man, I'm ready.
And I think we talked about this on one of our commentaries, but I wanted to. I think from maybe it was our episode talking to Patrick Willems. We said that it was a CGI shot in the opera of the music, the sheet music. Yes. It's actually someone asked McCory about it on Twitter after our episode aired. Or I don't know if aired is the right word, but after our episode came out, they asked McCory about it on Twitter, and he said, no, that's a real shot, and it was done with a T-Rex Super Scope lens.
Yes, so I think we corrected this on the commentary.
It's a real practical, but we haven't corrected it on a real show, so that's why I'm doing it here too. Another thing I noticed too from that Patrick episode, he had talked about in Rogue Nation, there's a height joke where the bad guy stands up and he's way taller in the opera sequence.
Yes.
And Patrick, I'm just going to call out Patrick right now. He said that this is the first time that in the series they were doing this kind of comedy, this kind of gag. But then I remembered in Ghost Protocol, doesn't they do kind of he goes into the jail at the beginning when he's breaking out of the jail.
Yeah,
he goes into the jail cell and then he walks out backwards because a giant guy comes out.
Yeah.
It's kind of an echo of the same.
Yes.
The Rogue Nation one's kind of an echo of that gag.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was just thinking about that.
So you're saying fuck Patrick?
No.
You know what? I agree with you, Charles. Fuck Patrick.
I just obsess over Mission Impossible all day long and all night and into my dreams. And so that's why it came up, and I remembered this.
I love it. I'm glad we made that correction.
So, Patrick, if you're listening, hello.
Fuck you. Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah, and then one of the last thing was Matt Damon was on Conan. Did I send that to you?
No.
We talked about it, right?
Oh, no.
He did. He talks about the differences between him and Tom Cruise, and it's really funny. He talks about the stunts and everything, and yeah. Anyway, it's worth looking up. Matt Damon on Conan. Recently, he was talking about that and talked about Mission Impossible. It's pretty great.
Well, reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're following us. Let us know. Did you see Ford versus Ferrari? Did you like it?
Why Ford versus Ferrari?
Matt Damon.
Okay, sure.
And some great.
Well, and we tweeted about this, the Bong Joon-ho thing you sent me.
Oh yes,
Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, which is wonderful. You should see that movie. He said that Parasite is kind of a
creepy,
a weird, creepy family version of Mission Impossible.
Which is true.
And he said he loves the original show, the original TV show.
Yes, but you saw me tweet today that I think he wouldn't do it because...
Well, he said this thing.
He doesn't like tight clothing.
Yeah, he won't do a Marvel movie or a superhero movie at all because they all wear tight clothes and he hates the look of tight clothes. It makes him look uncomfortable. And it made me think back on all of his movies, and it's true. Everyone always is wearing really baggy clothes in his movies.
They're like really wide pants. Yeah.
But you think that means he won't do a mission?
Yeah.
He could do a mission. They don't wear that tight of clothes.
He's not going to do a mission. I don't want him to do a Mission Impossible movie.
No, he should just do original movies in that he has control over.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. But I feel like maybe someday Cruise would give him the power to do something cool. I don't know.
I think he's having a real moment with this movie.
Yeah,
you and I have been fans of his for
forever.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to talk to Stu Maschwitz about him.
Yeah, that was a great story.
With him on The Host.
Yeah.
That was the movie that opened my eyes to him.
Yes.
I saw The Host in theaters twice, and it blew me away. And then I've just been a huge fan of his since then. Have you watched his first movie yet since then?
I haven't, but I'm going to get it on Vudu.
Yeah.
It's on sale.
Barking Dogs Never Bite.
Yeah.
It's probably his weakest movie.
That's
but
okay.
It's still, every
Even
movie
his
he
weakest
makes
movie,
is still amazing. And then they just announced Neon is going to release Memories of Murder.
Yeah, I guess there's a guy. There's a guy
who
who runs Neon or something that has been his distributor or in some capacity, like from Magnolia to Radius with the whole Snowpiercer thing, and now here.
Right.
So there's a great interview in Variety with him, and yeah, they're gonna keep working together. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. Snowpiercer is wonderful too. The biggest thing that bugs me is that people didn't love Okja, which I don't understand.
I don't know why.
Okja is maybe my favorite one. Maybe because I'm a dog person and it's kind of a dog movie. But Okja is just incredible. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I have essentially the dog version of Okja here.
You do. Nova does look like a little version of Okja.
Rescued from the Korean meat market. And so that story really resonates with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, now we've just turned this into a Bong Joon-ho podcast, so we should probably get back to our studies, our Mission Impossible studies. But we'll be back next week. Who are we talking to next week, Charles? Do we know?
Yeah, so next week we have Jack Howard on.
What a fun interview that is.
Yeah.
He's a delight.
We just talked to him, and he is awesome, very knowledgeable film guy. It's really great.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, I think we have scheduled, hopefully if it all works out, we've got
fingers crossed.
A big name coming back.
Coming back, baby.
Very excited about that, and you will love that. That's going to be a really great one.
Yes. So stick around for at least a few more episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through to the end of the year.
Yeah. See how you're feeling after that. But yeah, definitely do that. And we'll be back next week.
Thanks. Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. If you'd like to watch the original Mission Impossible television show, all 7 seasons are currently available to stream on Amazon Prime. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.